Hey everyone, this is Blake, and today I'm going to talk about why I made the jump to using VE Pro Server from my large orchestral templates. Let's dive in. If you aren't aware of what VE Pro is, this is it. It is Vienna Ensemble Pro. What Vienna Ensemble Pro does is it runs as a server on one or more computers and hosts your virtual instruments for you. There was a time when I'd see people talking about using VE Pro, and I was just kind of like, why would you do that? I don't really understand why. But as I've, continued writing and getting more and more larger libraries, it started to make some sense. Just as an example, let me show you what I mean. So this is my Mac Mini. This is a 16 gigabyte RAM machine. As we know, all modern Macs do not allow you to upgrade the RAM. So whatever you get from the factory is what you are stuck with. Now, in recent years, with the M2 lineup coming out and so on and so forth, you've been able to get more and more memory in these Apple Silicon Macs. But whenever I got this machine, 16 was it. This was the max amount of RAM that you could get in a Mac Mini. As I started to use this machine, for writing and composing and all that, I started to run into issues where my memory pressure would go into the red. It starts swapping files and stuff out to disk. And then I started to get some stability issues because it couldn't get access to what it needed. So I dealt with that for a little while, tried to figure out, ways that I could, minimize RAM usage. But at the same time, I had all these libraries with these mic positions that I had paid for that I couldn't load. I could barely get by loading just the main mics. So here we are in BBC Symphony Orchestra, and we are currently loading up the Violins 1 patch. So this is just all of the articulations down here with just the normal mix 1 that's available in BBC Core and others. Now we're at 880 megs right here. So if I turn this down, I can get rid of this and we drop down to that, 227. So now let's say I want to make a custom mix, my own mix for whatever reason. Say I don't like the way something sounds. So if I come in here, I do the tree, I do a little bit of the, let's say the outriggers, let's turn some of the ambience up. Let's add a little bit of close. Yeah, like this is the spill mic. Let's say I want that for a little bit of realism and so on and so forth. Now, if you check our memory for this one patch, we're at 2.4 gigs and we are climbing still. So you can imagine swapping back over here to the Mac. That's not going to go very far on a machine with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, obviously, you're not going to load mics like that necessarily every time, but it's nice to be able to do it. And I noticed that I just was having a lot of trouble with RAM on this machine. So I tried to decide, what am I going to do? Okay, so I had bought this machine just to test out the M1 transition and the Apple Silicon and all that stuff. The problem was when they came out with the Mac Studio, it was more expensive than I was kind of hoping it was going to be for the spec that I was wanting. I mean, I would want like 64 gigs and of RAM, and that was up in like $3,000. And it was really hard for me to swing that. Some people I know have gotten the Mac Studios and really liked them, and that's fantastic. I know they're great machines, but for me, it was just really hard to justify shelling out a bunch of money like that. So, and aside from the RAM, this little Mac Mini is a fantastic machine and I love it. It's just the RAM that was the issue. So I started to kind of think, what can I do? What option do I have? Okay, the first option, ditch Mac completely and go with Windows. I have tried that several times and I just do not like it. The Mac Windows debate, I know, is going to go on for ever and ever and ever, but I like Core MIDI and Core Audio, how easy it makes. I don't have to fuss with drivers and all that. So the other option, buy a new machine. Already talked about that. There was nothing on the market that really fit what I wanted. So then the other option was, okay, what if I do a server client with VE Pro. It's not something I'd ever done before, not something I was really familiar with. I knew what it was and I knew how it kind of worked, but I didn't know how well it would work. So I got the trial. I have a Windows computer I used to play a handful of games with friends, and it just so happened that I had it in the same room as my Mac Mini. So I installed the VE Pro trial on that machine, installed a couple of virtual instruments, and I tested it out. And I was really impressed with how it worked. This was kind of a way of, okay, I can get the best of both worlds. I can use my favorite sequencer, Logic, and get all of the benefits of Mac OS with Core Audio, Core MIDI, things like that. But all of my samples, the RAM intensive stuff, will be on a machine that I can upgrade, I can build, troubleshoot, etc., so on and so forth, for a lot less money than a Mac. So that was the route that I decided to go down. I used my gaming computer for a little while, but then I decided I wanted a very specific machine, tailor-built to do this. So I built a new server, and that is this machine right here. This is let me just pull up the task manager to just show what the specs of this machine are. So this is a Core i7 10700K. So it's an 8-core, 16-thread part. The memory, the big thing, I'm currently at 80 gigabytes of total usable memory, with the ability to upgrade to, I believe, a max of 128 if I want. And I have currently 4 disks in here. So this machine is what all of my samples are running off of. And now I kind of get it. I get what VE Pro's use is. For me, this is a perfect compromise. I can use the software that I want, but also have the upgradable machine. So enough kind of talking about it. Let's look at, okay, how do I actually use it? Now, I have set up over time. It's taken a while, but a lot of you probably know how long it takes to set up a template. So it's taken a while to put some of these templates together, and there have been many iterations of it, as you can see. But the current one I'm on is this one. And so this is going to load up. Okay, so now that this is loaded up, you can see how I've got this laid out. But so the way that this works is I've got each section for each library split out into its own instance. So each of these are instances. And so right now they are all disabled, because that's generally how I run them. I run them in a disabled fashion and just enable the ones that I need. So the way that this kind of works is over here we've got the Woodwind Ensembles instance. Then over here in Logic, I have a Woodwind Ensembles group, and then all of these tracks in here match up one-to-one with the tracks over here. So if I come in here and I say I play, the Woodwind highs here for Albion 1, I'll get those if I want the shorts, just like in a normal session. And if I come over here while I play this, you can see we are triggering the library over here. And so all of that together, if I look at the RAM usage, currently at 4 gigs for Vienna Ensemble Pro. So that's 4 gigs just with all of these. So that loads all of these at once. So hopefully you found that helpful, interesting. Maybe you enjoyed it. Maybe it answered a couple of questions you may have had. If you have a question that I didn't answer, please feel free to leave it down below in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. But I really appreciate you watching, sticking around, and seeing what I had to say. So until next time, bye for now.